Welcome to Pioneers in Payments, where payments experts share their insights. Now, here's our host, Donna Blum.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Pioneers in Payments. Today, I have the pleasure of welcoming Rebecca Walden with Walden Co. Welcome, Rebecca.
Thank you, Donna. I'm excited to be with you today.
I'm so excited to have you here. We've just gotten to know each other recently, and we're fast friends. I love that.
We are. I think it's one of the silver linings of LinkedIn. More people should get to know their connections beyond that platform.
I agree wholeheartedly. Well, and this is going to be an opportunity for our audience to get to know more about you. So, why don't we just start there? Would you mind telling our audience a little bit about who you are, your background in payments, and then also would love to know a little bit about Walden Co.
Sure. So, goodness, I joined payments in January of 2018, which compared to the tenure of many that I am friends with and respect in the industry, feels like it's barely been a minute. But of all of the industries that have spanned my career since entering the workforce in 2000, this one's my favorite. I've said this to many people. I feel like we in payments, we make careers, we're paid to get smarter about how money moves. And I love that, right? There's not a single part of our consumer lives that doesn't affect it. And I am not even embarrassed to say when I go to HEB and buy my groceries, I freak out at the terminal and I feel the need to tell the cashier, I know these people. Do you know how this works? Let me tell you about this industry. And they're like, oh, geez, lady, come on, move on. I love it.
So, tell me a little bit about your own consulting organization, though. Walden Co. is pretty new, right?
It is. It is and it isn't. I, before my payments life, and of course, since then, I've always consulted. I cut my teeth doing public relations, marketing, in-house communications, traditional advertising agency, and I can't not write. I can't not think about ways to communicate with persuasion and just how to make things effective depending on the audience and the nuances. It's just how my brain is wired. And as you and all of your listeners know, there's a learning curve with payments and you can't fake the knowledge. Either you know what you're talking about or you don't. So I left Deluxe in September of 2023. And as I was thinking about what I wanted to do next, I quickly realized, oh, I may have been marketing, but I know a lot more about payments than I've given myself credit for. And people are seeking me out for that knowledge, and they're even willing to pay me for it. So this year, I formalized it into an LLC, but it's really the culmination of work I've been doing for years and years.
So, Rebecca, we talked about this a little bit just the other day. You are an author. Would you tell us a little bit about your new book?
Sure. So it was published last month. It's called You Have a Gift to Bring. And it's an extension of the same work that I do with Walden Co. From a strategic advisory standpoint. This just speaks more to the individual. I think one thing in payments that probably a lot of industries we tend to forget is at the end of the day, you're working with, you're hiring, uh, you're selling to humans, whether you're private equity backed or publicly traded, humans are involved. We are complex, flawed creatures, and we all bring our own stuff to our professional lives. So the book is really a deep dive, for whether you're a leader, whether you're an individual contributor, about seeking clarity, figuring out, okay, what makes me show up the way I show up, what gets to come with me, and what doesn't. And it was a big old act of bravery to write it. One of the things that a common thread that I hear in my consulting work, in my day job, and with the circles where this book is landing, I think people respond to. I just speak in truth serum. I don't know any other way than to be authentic. And so you maybe in ways that you can't show up in a board meeting or a professional setting. Um, this is a bit heavy, but it should land with anyone that's being honest. Suffering is universal, right? We all go through that. And some of the words that folks have said after they've read it is, oh my gosh, it's so real and it's so raw and it's vulnerable. Well, yeah, it is, because I certainly don't need another sanitized book on corporate whatever. And so it was written from that place. Um, and it keeps growing, and I'm nervous and excited and just focused on being a good steward.
Well, I think it is fantastic that you have put this message out there, and really, there's no substitute to being authentic. Um, I think we all need to bring that into our careers, just to, and people are so important. Many times I have guests on, and we just talk about the technology side or the innovations, right, in the industry, but you're consulting on the people. Well, some of that you mentioned earlier that you called it consulting practice with soul, and I love that.
Thank
So,
you.
what are some of the things that you help your clients solve? Like hiring and retention, or what are some other types of things that you help to solve for?
Over the recent past, I mean, they vary broadly, from vertical SaaS companies to enterprise, tier one bank software, um, to banking as a service and PayFacs, and a lot of their nuances, but a lot of their challenges are universal. I think it's human nature when it's your baby and you do it every day, um, to maybe overestimate a little bit of how much your audience is aligned, right, with your value prop. And well, of course they should do business with us. Look at all of these things that we do. So a lot of what I do is come in as a thought partner, and I haven't been there so long, right, that I'm able to see things and point out observations they don't see anymore. And sometimes that takes the form of, I know what you're saying despite the jargon because I'm in your industry. But if I were to try to say what you just said to me, to my husband over dinner, who works in a different industry, his brain would melt. Like he would stop listening. And that's some of that truth serum, right? And that Southern fried directness that one of my readers described my approach as. And again, the clients that I've had the best outcomes with, and by the way, I define a best outcome as, have we fixed the leaky bucket? Right? Are your customers staying longer? Are you making more money? Are you getting referrals from your best customers that you wish you could just clone? Um, they they don't have that armor on. We're able to have very frank conversations and then talk through, okay, there's a gap here. Or you've got silos in your organization. You've got really incredible workers, but they're frustrated because they don't know how their day-to-day ladders up to what you just told your financial sponsors you're working toward. Um, Sometimes it's strategic partnerships they haven't considered that they should, right? Um, Other times, people love to say a lot of things about our industry. Um, it is possible to differentiate, and the human factor is how you differentiate. So it's really just helping tease that out.
Yeah, that is so good. I love that. I'm glad that you took the time to explain that. I think it's so needed in the industry. So, thank you. So, we're kind of here to talk about what's happening in payments and just kind of almost distill it down to the biggest trends, right? So, if you had to choose from all the trends in the industry today, what would you say is the most notable trend in payments?
Ooh, speed of change. And I would just sprinkle on top of that there's a lot of increased responsibility from a risk and compliance standpoint. And organizations have to be very, very mindful and precise that they are holding their teams accountable, right? Because the consequences are real.
So,
Yeah.
Rebecca, obviously there's a lot of opportunities and challenges right now in the industry, and you're working with a lot of financial institutions. What would you say is the biggest opportunity that they have today?
I think it's operational alignment primarily. Easy for me to say, right? As a consultant, it's not my responsibility to try to turn around the Titanic. I mean, these big financial institutions, you have a lot of stakeholders, you have a lot of employees, you have a lot of interdependencies. Um, but the same reason it's complicated is viewed another way is the same reason not to uh, just say, "Oh, I've got other things. We'll figure it out. We figure it out." So I think being very clear-eyed and pragmatic about, okay, these are non-negotiables from an operational complexity standpoint. This is what we have to do by the end of the quarter, by the end of 6 months, by the end of the year. And then surrounding yourself with a team. And I think the most effective teams are not just internal, which I'm not saying for my benefit. But nobody does this successfully all by themselves. Um, you can bring in third parties. I think one of the bravest, best, and boldest things the leaders I respect the most do, um, they they don't confuse having a competitive moat with the importance of allyship with their counterparts, even though those counterparts are employed by their competitors in the market. Like, cultivate those relationships where you can talk off the record about, well, we're struggling with this. What are you seeing? I know several CEOs that model that exceptionally well. I mean, you choose your circle carefully, but you don't have to sit there with this operational complexity burden and think, okay, it can only be my uber inner circle that helps me solve it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Collaboration. I've always been a huge advocate of collaboration. Just think we're better together, right? Sharing what works or sharing maybe what didn't work so others don't have to make the same mistakes. And yeah, I think we're as we do that, we're just making the whole industry better, right?
Absolutely. Well, and the other part of that is uh, all of your prospective buyers, they're all talking to their counterparts. So it's arming you to stay ahead of what's new and what's next instead of waiting to read it in a headline, because it's coming straight from your peers. But at the same time, there's this cascading effect that can help in customer acquisition. And to take that one step further, um, the individuals at companies that are gracious enough and that have enough goodwill to say, you know what, we're not the best fit for you, but I'll tell you who you need to talk to. I love when I see that happening, and it doesn't get the credit that it should. There are a lot of really, really strong individuals out there that, to their credit, uh, they're not trying just to become kingdom builders. They know what they're good at. They know when they're beyond their expertise. And I really love to see those referrals take place. It benefits everybody.
It does. Yes, absolutely. Not so territorial. We're just, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, there's enough business
So
for
that's
all of us. It really does.
okay. So that's the greatest opportunity we just talked about. Let's look at the flip side. What is the greatest challenge today?
I think the greatest challenge, it's hard to say because it's an incredible development for productivity. But I think it's not over indexing on AI. again, the through line of everything I'm saying is don't forget the human element. Don't forget who you're selling to, and who's working for you and who you're relying on. I heard Jamie Walker of Elevon speak at a conference in late February, and this topic came up, and he used himself as an example. He said, a year ago, I would use AI, I don't know, once or twice a day in the course of his day job. And he said, now I use it probably 30 times a day. And that resonated with me because in the context of the panel's larger conversation, it was abundantly clear you use it to help you, but you don't use it to lose your edge, right? You don't want to become homogenous for the sake of what you think is efficiency that is actually dulling your competitive edge.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You know, there's really no substitute for like face to face, right? I'm in sales and kind of old school. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
doing these kinds of things is an equivalent of face to face. You know, you are in Texas and I'm in Omaha, and this is the
Right.
closest thing we can do to a face to face today. But this is far better than just emailing each other back
Oh,
and forth. I mean, we really can't establish as much of a relationship that way. And also, when we're communicating, like you've seen youths these days, and they could be sitting across the room from each other, but they're still texting each other back and forth.
my
There's
daughter texts
definitely
me
a,
from upstairs.
I know, right?
Sorry.
There's definitely a place for technology and for AI, right? But you don't want to take the human element out of it. It's got to be AI plus humans, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And I suppose just a note to end on, because this is a huge part of my personal ethos, and of course that spills over professionally. Um, I said this a moment ago, but I think we were both sharing a thought. There is enough business for all of us, wherever you sit, whatever your expertise is, and don't underestimate the impact of professional generosity and goodwill without expecting anything back. I do that freely, and it's not because I'm such a good person. I just in my bones, I feel that it's the right thing to do. Um, we can all tell when someone, whether you're in biz dev or not, when someone is being transactional, and you're depriving yourself of a really beautiful relationship. Firstly, um, you just you never know the good that can come from just opening a door for someone, even if it never comes back to you. It's just the right thing to do.
I agree. Yeah, I think everybody should um, look for ways to. I'm just going to use my wording to be a blessing to others, right? Like how to
Yeah,
give back, how to, and not for selfish reasons, not for gain, but
right.
let's just all be there to help each other out. And actually,
Right.
Rebecca, you started something for women. I hope it's okay to mention it, but
It
it is
is.
okay. It's HASO. Is that correct? Correct?
We just call it HASO, but yes.
HASO. Okay, helping a sister out. And I love it. I attended for the first time recently and it was so amazing. So thank you for that. But anyways, let's all just help each other out.
Thank you for those gracious words.
No problem. I do have one other question for you. So, and this is my
Okay.
favorite. Um, if you had to take all that you know about payments, um, and give our audience one silver bullet piece of advice, what would that be?
Ooh, stay intellectually curious and sign up, say yes, attend the webinar, go to the conference. sit in the session that you know the least about that topic and just come with an open heart and an open mind and a pen full of ink and fill your brain. I recently had an opportunity to moderate a panel on digital assets and tokenized deposits and all that goes along with that. I was not an expert on that topic, and I had the stinking best time learning about it. The example I shared earlier in our conversation, that's my litmus test when I'm learning anything new in payments. If I cannot come home and sit across the dinner table and say with clarity and a concise explanation of whatever it is, to where my husband and my 9th grade son and 11th grade daughter, if they can't understand, then I don't know it well enough yet. So the silver bullet, I mean, I don't think buying education is ever wrong. I don't think pursuing education, whatever the topic is in payments, it's never going to fail to serve you well. You're always going to get incredible returns. And it's just interesting. We're in a very interesting industry. I'll be saying that when I'm, 70 years old and people are like, isn't it time for you to retire?
What would be the fun in that?
Oh, I know.
I hear you. Yes, be a lifelong learner. And that not just in the industry, but you can do that in all of life. So that's really good. So before I let you go, Rebecca, we're kind of wrapping up here, but I want to make sure that our audience knows how they could reach out to you, maybe to learn more about your consulting services or to find your book or to learn about HASO. What information would you like to share?
Thank you. The best place to start is my website, which is Walden and Co, A-N-D, waldenandco.com. Of course, we all in the industry are big fans of LinkedIn. My direct mail inbox is always open. And thank you. I have enjoyed moving our conversation. I've enjoyed moving our relationship from LinkedIn only to in real life, albeit through a screen because of the miles between us. So thank you for this platform and the gift that you're giving listeners just to connect with others in the industry. I appreciate it.
Well, I am so grateful for you spending the time today and sharing your insights with our audience. And I want to thank everybody for watching today, too. Bye now.